We're taking this blank slate from this to this. Don't you guys look cute? Hey, good morning everybody. It's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. Today I'm in the middle of Kalamazoo, Michigan with three of the best water feature builders in the world. Ralph's here too. So
you can see, I'm looking at the screen, you can see James' hands go like this.
We're here with James Whitaker from Only Outdoor Living. He actually brought myself, Brian, Alan, and Ralph in. And James, why don't you explain what exactly we're doing here?
We're building a natural playground. Really, I don't know if you guys have ever been involved in, I know actually you guys have been involved in a natural playground, but this was born by the Children's Nature Playscape in downtown Kalamazoo. There's a vacant lot, right city center, right next to Bronson Park, and they had this awesome idea to make nature immediately accessible for the 2,500 to 3,000 families locally here that don't have any access to nature, right? So if you can imagine what it would be like to grow up without, you know, woods to play in or a stream to go mess around with, that's what's happening. So it's their goal to create a space, a playground without manufactured components where kids and, well, all sorts of people can go, you know, put their hands in the water, put their feet in the water, play on logs and rocks and build things with sticks and you know, loose parts and have all, you know, sensory play, all these things that are so popular, so important right now. They're doing that right in downtown Kalamazoo. They're doing it with by fundraising, and it's just a huge gift to the community, an absolutely huge gift to the community in Southwest Michigan in general. And you know, I'm Only Outdoor Living, super fortunate to be a part of it. The design team at OCBA and RecWise and BICE, we have put together this amazing design, and of course you guys are here to build the water feature, which is kind of the central component to the whole space. Everything else is built around the water feature, so no pressure, but it sets the tone. You know, the water feature sets the tone for the whole place. So if you guys screw this up, it's going to ruin the whole project, you know, which is only 10 years in the making now, so, or more. So no pressure. Perfect. No big deal.
So I don't know what's better, working in sand or working in soil, but I love working in sand because a lot of times you can carve in boulders exactly like you want. You're really motivated to make sure there's like everything's just perfect. The negative side is you have some pretty weak walls. There's a lot of stuff that can just kind of cave in over the side. So if anybody were to stand right here, we would get really upset because we're gonna have to fix all of this. You can even see as you excavated here, you really kind of sloped this up, making sure that none of this would cave in. So it's nice because we can dig really fast and everything else, but we have to be safe and make sure everything's kind of sloped in. When we're setting these aqua blocks, it actually gets kind of easy because we can flatten off the bottom really, really easy. So we're coming in, we want to make sure everything's at the exact level. You can see Alan over here, and he's the definition of perfection, right? Always smiling.
Always smiling.
Smiling Alan.
That's it.
But we've got 104 aqua blocks going in. We want to make sure the tops of these are nice and level, and then we're just going to kind of keep working back. The other thing we do that we normally wouldn't do with excavation is you've overdug stuff, which makes it really easy. So I can walk around the sides without worrying about things caving in. We would never over excavate this much if we were working in a harder soil, because then when backfilling, nothing compacts quite the same. This sand is going to compact in really nice. This reservoir is going to be hard.
So the reason you see us putting the aqua blocks in without the liner is we're test fitting everything. We're going to make sure it all fits perfectly before we go and drag the liner in here. The other thing we want to do is find out where our pump vaults are going to be. We're looking to go into that front corner there. So what we'll do is we'll get the whole thing laid out, pull out a couple blocks, mark out where our pump faults are gonna go, and being that this is sand, we can dig it with a shovel pretty easily. We'll get that dug, make sure everything's just perfect. Then our underlayment comes in, followed by our liner, and on top we'll do another layer of underlayment before the blocks go back in.
All right, so right now, we got this whole reservoir done, right, Ralph?
Yeah, just the two of us.
It looks like a big burrito.
Yes.
Speaking of which, isn't it lunchtime?
It is close to lunchtime.
All right, so over in this section, Brian just got done marking out some areas we're gonna dig back to, because the current liner for the reservoir will go all the way to the top. So this is gonna create a nice dramatic falls, and we're gonna cut that all out and create a nice shelf. What do you wanna add, Ralph?
So we know we're gonna have those falls kind of facing this way, and we're gonna have some boulder staircases coming off to the side. So this is gonna be a really cool interactive spot. We're gonna have some pooling water in this area, and then it'll kind of go downstream and disappear towards the edge of that vault area.
So it's a sea of rock, right? There's a ton of stone, and James actually did an awesome job. He went down to Semco Stone in Missouri and hand tagged a bunch of this stuff, right?
Most of this.
So you got some really cool specimens, but I think it's always important at the beginning of the job, just kind of assess what you have, because you're gonna wanna use all your pretty stuff right away, and then you'll have nothing left for the rest of the stream.
Right.
And then we were talking about like the area we're working on now, setting some of these, we want to make it like really interactive over there. So James actually was like looking at, both of us were looking at some of these really nice flatter pieces. Like there's some nice stuff in here. There's actually a whole skid way over here of really flat stuff, but I don't think we have enough of that, right? Like I'd like to carry that stuff through the path. This is almost, this one, James, though, technically takes up 2/3 of that bottom area. So maybe there's a way to incorporate one on one side, one on the other side, and then try to get back out with some stairs or something. But we want it to be interactive with kids. That's the whole purpose. But we've got some really cool stuff. And this Missouri limestone with all the mosses and lichens is instantly gonna give this project I was born here type feeling. This is the one. You can just tell. It's got so much character to it. It's nice and flat across the top. It's got this kind of undercut cantilevered edge right here. So that water is really gonna create this big sheet as it comes off over here. If you see this little area here, this is gonna do something interesting. I have no idea what yet, but it'll do something interesting which will give it character. And it's pretty close to the right height. I'm guessing it's probably sitting a little high, but because we're outside of our reservoir where this is gonna sit, we can always kind of manipulate the ground and get this to sit at whatever height we want. Then we have to look at not just this stone, but do we have some frame rocks that can sit a little taller than it without having to stack a bunch of this littler stuff next to it. So I know this is the waterfall stone. There's another one over there that might marry up to this thing really nice. Come check it out. Not quite as pretty as the other one, but still has that same flat top to it. Has kind of an undercut edge here and here. Here it bevels out a little bit, but maybe what we do, because we have so many pumps, we have 3 12 PNs on this project, maybe what we can do is get like the first one coming in like this one coming in like this, spread that waterfall out even more, and then get a frame rock here and a frame rock right over there. It's what's going on in my head right now, but as we bring the rock over, you guys know all too well that that's not always how it happens, but we start with an idea and then we adapt. So let's see if it works, and if not, we'll adapt. Come on.
So here we are, this is the waterfall where we're gonna have water cascading this way, like a really cool, like falling in on itself V-type waterfall into this awesome cove. Now we gotta make it so the water will actually come, hit the rocks and build up enough so it spills into here. Right now, our liner goes back behind this, which is gonna encapsulate the whole system. So if there was any sort of problem where water wasn't going over, it would at least stay inside the liner and then back down to the reservoir. We want it to come up and over, and in order to do that, we're gonna use this waterfall foam. Now, I've got to seal up behind all this. So you can see the liner comes in here. It dives back behind here, and we had fabric that was protecting the liner from the rock. I trimmed back all the fabric, so I'm gonna shove it all down inside here, the whole way around this whole back side of the rock. This I'm gonna have to plug up with something to make it so that we can close this gap. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Right here we've got a pretty good size like little hole there. I want to call it a hole, but it's a gap. We'll fill that in with cobble to bring that up about this high. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna seal this all up. It's not really gonna be watertight, it's gonna be more for directing water, so it'll hit that bond of the foam and the liner and the rock, build up here, and it'll go over and create the cascades. I'll just shove all my fabric in and get it so I can get a clean connection between my liner and my rock. So I'm gonna hold this back, start right inside here. Anywhere there's a fold, I'm gonna make sure I get foam inside there, because water will find the easiest route. So if I didn't foam inside here, the water would go underneath the fold and it would go down here. So I'm gonna lose volume, I'm not gonna get it all over the waterfall, and it's gonna change the effect of the cascade. So I'll make sure I seal all this up as I go, but I'll take my time, get that foam in there, and I can just go back and forth here, building up a little bead of foam. And you can see what that does. I got the liner, there's the rock, and this is taking up that gap in between. I'll do that all the way behind these rocks. On the outside where it's gonna meet some of our frames, we'll actually leave some areas open like this. So if any water has to go someplace, instead of going out, it can actually relief behind and stay inside the system. We'll go into that stuff later, but this is how we actually put the foam in behind our waterfall rocks, where we're not doing a bib application. You know, it's not often that I feel bad for Brian, but I actually feel bad for Brian today.
This is all about experiences, and that was the first time I've ever done that. You son of...
Well, while Brian is wallowing in misery up there doing the seam, I've been down here working on getting this waterfall buttoned up with Alan, and this reservoir is looking fantastic. That's where the vaults are. Eventually they'll totally be hidden. We're actually gonna build a little block structure there with a lid for it, and it'll get covered up with cobble. That'll get beached out over on that side. Of course, you've got this gorgeous Missouri limestone waterfall. The majority of the water is gonna be coming off of these two stones here. I wanted to sneak a waterfall around this side, so we've got a channel here. I had to block this up to match our height. So that stone is actually the same height as these stones, so we're gonna get even distribution of water. But it'll come through this little chasm here, and it'll spill right off of this waterfall down right next to the step. I think that's gonna be really cool because it'll come down here and kind of bank back in, so we'll get to walk right next to a small waterfall. But the way this is set up with the cove, I love stuff like that. I want to see you guys back here for part 2, where we're going to finish this reservoir and head up that stream. And we've got a couple waterfalls that are yet to be built. Hit that subscribe button, come on back. We're building amazing water features over here at Atlantis Water Gardens. Share it with your friends. I'll see you on the next one.